Should Osama bin Laden have been executed or arrested to face trial?
Yasmin ALIBHAI-BROWN.
He should have been taken. He was unarmed, we know that. If he'd been armed and posing a real danger, I can see the point of doing what happened. And I do understand those people who say at least they didn't throw bombs on an entire compound and so on. I think it demeans an exemplary democracy and an exemplary president with whom I fell a little in love when he was elected.
He fell in love.
He's shown himself to be the ugly American. This is not good. He should have faced a trial. We did it for the Nazis. We say this is what we believe in, the rule of law. He's degraded American democracy, and American democracy has been degrading itself, actually, through torture and rendition. So I'm really depressed about it.
Oh, she's depressed. I can't believe they're giving her a clapping ovation. That's amazing.
Nasir?
No, I couldn't disagree more. I'm elated by the death of Osama bin Laden. As I think any decent person should be. The issue of whether or not he was armed is, I mean, obviously Yasmin is an expert in these kind of operations, but if you are one of the military, if you are one of them, if I can continue, if you're one of the military personnel in the compound in that situation, you don't know whether he's got a suicide vest, you don't know whether he's going to pull another bomb, and let's get on to the other issues. Firstly, this idea that he could be tried. How can you try Osama bin Laden? Where? When? How do you find a jury that doesn't have opinions about him? How do you find a judge? If anyone's been following the attempts to have a trial of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed in New York, it's proving to be a very, very difficult process, indeed very nearly an impossible one, which is why President Obama has now gone to a military tribunal for that.
Exactly.
I think this doesn't demean America. It reminds people of who has been right in this conflict, who the victim is, and who the perpetrator is. Osama bin Laden did not allow any of the 3,000 people in New York and Washington on 9/11 any rights. He took away every single right that any of the people in those cars or their families had. He didn't grant any rights to the families or the victims of the 7/7 subway and bus bombings, which he inspired. It went on, and it's a good thing that the story has now finished.
It hasn't finished, Douglas.
All right. Wait a moment, everybody. Wait, a lot of people want to speak, and we'll come to them in a moment. He proved himself an ugly American and degraded America, Paddy Ashton. What do you say to that?
Well, I want to see if I can address for a moment Douglas. Douglas, how old are you? It does seem to me you're quite young to take a decision that a man should be executed.
No, I didn't take the decision, Paddy. I didnn't take the decision. The American president took the decision.
To welcome the decision that a man should be executed rather than due process of law being followed.
The American president took that decision. It was a very popular decision with the American people, and I think it's a good thing.
By the way, just for the sake of accuracy, we don't know the American president took that decision. James asked the question, which actually, in a sense, begs the question. We don't know the detail as to whether or not he was executed and whether it was...
Right there you saw, folks, the reason why this guy is saying the things that he's saying. He's a liberal leader, folks, of the British Party. He's one of the liberal people out there. He's a progressive, a socialist. So, of course, he's going to say that.
...was justified or not. Let me just say this to you, Douglas. I have seen people killed, some of my friends and some of my enemies. I've also given evidence against President Milosevic and war crimes tribunals in The Hague. And I watched them make use of the due process of law to stir up radical opinion in their own country. But I have to tell you that I cannot rejoice in the killing of any man, I've seen enough. Hang on a second. Now just let me finish just for a second. And let me make this very clear. I belong to a country which is founded on the principle of the exercise of the due process of law. I'm dedicated to that. And I have to say to you that it is not a good enough excuse to say that we will not follow due process because it's too difficult. To take that position is to undermine the very principle upon which this country stands and to which I am dedicated. And if you allow somebody to be executed because the due process of law is too difficult to follow, you take a very dangerous step in exactly the wrong direction.
Paddy, you know...
Douglas, I'll come back to you. But the point that I really objected to was Douglas's point that he should have been executed. And that, it seems to me, is wholly, wholly, wholly wrong.
But Paddy, this is because...
Holy, holy, holy wrong. I could say, holy, holy, holy crap. Well, I would ask him, would you have given due process to Hitler? I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, in terms of just cold-blooded calculation or whatever, but my goodness, there would be a lot of people that had said, absolutely, if they had their chance, they would have taken their shot at Hitler. Absolutely. I mean, these are just not your ordinary run-of-the-mill criminals that are out there that are stealing a candy bar from a candy store. These are absolutely evil, 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 evil SOBs. And whatever the decision was, I wholly freaking back that completely, 1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. Douglas is absolutely 100% true. That guy's a liberal. That guy's a leftist. That's the reason why. Virtue signaling from a perch. Oh, I've killed people. I've seen my friends and enemies killed. I've given testimony against Milosevic. So...
But Paddy, you know, I grant you that you're older than me, but you saw the Milosevic trial. When Milosevic was on trial, it went on for years and years. He stalled and stalled, and he died whilst the trial was ongoing. And now, I'm not saying that executing bin Laden in this circumstance is ideal, and I don't think that trying Milosevic in that case is ideal.
I'm sorry, the law is difficult, but it's the law, and we should be following it.
But this is an evolving body of law. You think it's law?
So hang on a second. What are you saying? We should not have the due process of law followed because it happens to be uncomfortable.
International law is an evolving body of law. It's not a rigid set of constructs like you pretend
it does not allow nations to go and choose.
And the Nuremberg precedent is not a valid one. There were all sorts of problems with the Nuremberg tribunals. That's recognised by lawyers now, and it's recognised by historians. We didn't also have an opportunity then to try Adolf Hitler. There are all sorts of problems. Paddy, if you just allow me to finish. There are all sorts of problems with trying somebody like Osama bin Laden, and there are all sorts of problems with capturing him alive. But I wanted to one quick thing.
No, you've done several quick things. Hang on a minute. You'll have plenty of time, so we'll get a lot of questions on this. The woman in the centre at the back there, in red. That's you in the middle, yes.
Hi. As someone who studied international humanitarian law for years, I advise you, Douglas Murray, to read the Geneva Conventions.
This isn't about the Geneva Conventions.
It's not about the Geneva Conventions, lady.
My question...
I think apart from Douglas, you've all forgotten who were the victims.
Yes.
Those people went to work on 9/11 and 7/7 and they've lost their lives. And for Yasmin to compare the Osama bin Laden to the
Nazis, girl, you go.
You obviously don't know history, and you obviously don't know what it's like to have a victim, to be a child, to lose their parent. I was there. And I saw people lose their fathers and their mothers, and only Douglas is representing them. Only he is saying what all us feel, all us victims feel.
Yes.
We survived 9/11.
Yes.
I survived 7/7, and I'm proud to say that only Douglas is representing the views of us victims here.
That lady hit the nail on the proverbial head. Abso-freaking-lutely. The only person on that panel, everybody's a freaking lefty. I mean, we haven't heard from everybody, but Yasmin, absolutely. And Paddy, Lord Paddy, absolutely. These guys are on the left. They're just virtue signaling. That's all they're doing. They're virtue signaling. At least have a stance, but my goodness, the stances you're taking, you don't consider. Why doesn't nobody ever consider the victims? Nobody considers the victims, their families, or everything that they've gone through. They want to give the rights to the evil perpetrator. They want to give their civil rights, civil liberty rights to Adolf Hitler. They want to give them to Osama bin Laden. They want to give them to, Gaddafi. I mean, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I've spent most of my early life fighting terrorism. I've lost friends. I've seen them die in front of me from terrorists. Please don't accuse me of being naive in this. I can just tell you that when you take force, you take it in support of the rule of law, not to overturn the rule of law.
If can I just address this issue of whether or not it was an arrest? It was military forces that were sent into that compound, and soldiers are trained to fight, and they're trained to shoot and to kill. And if this had been a police operation, then we would have sent police in. America would have sent police in. Pakistan would have sent some police into the building. But it was Osama bin Laden. They knew it wasn't a police operation. It was an army operation. And in an army operation like that, it's very likely that shooting is going to occur, as it did from both sides apparently, and that somebody's going to get killed. But I just want this absurdity of all the time of treating people who have broken every single aspect of the rule of law, who then, when they're killed, suddenly all of these people come out and say the rule of law must be applied to Osama bin Laden. We have to remember who the victim is and who the perpetrator is in this.
Yes.
Unfortunately, he showed even less respect to all of those at 9/11 and elsewhere around the world. He didn't deserve any respect. He got what was coming to him.
Excuse me.
Yes, all right.
I'm sorry. We have to also remember that hundreds of thousands, nearly 1 million, other people also died. You can't just keep talking about 9/11, okay? Lots of people have paid a price for this. And the rules of war say, and Paddy can, I don't know, confirm or deny this, that even when people are killed in battle, their bodies are given to families to bury properly. This did not happen. Right. He's no...
If they can find the bodies, and if they have the time, and if they have the place, and if they can be returned, yes, absolutely. But there are many, many instances, Yasmin, where the bodies are still on the battlefield and nobody picks them up, nobody takes them, nobody gives them to families. They're just there, and they basically collapse into dust.
Friend of mine, but they should have done that.
That's ridiculous. Are you saying that the body should have been given back to the bin Laden family?
Which happens after wars. Bodies
How would they find the rest of the bin Laden family to give it to?
Yes, do you really think that course of action would have reduced the risk of further acts of terrorism?
If we say we
that
are
would
more,
have been an absurd
if we say we are more civilized, then we have to act. And it's difficult.
You would have been putting thousands of people's lives at risk.
What do you think is going to happen now? People, A, won't believe he's dead. B, and the lady's completely right, this wasn't done according to proper rites. It will just set off another generation.
It was a respectful burial at sea.
How do you know that? You said we don't know anything. How do you know that?
How do you know that, Yasmin? How do you know that? My goodness, the air that is rushing out of your brain. You airheaded bimbo. How do you know that? How do you know that? I could ask you the same thing. How do you know that you don't know what you don't know? How do you know that? How do you know that? The thing that I do know is that you have now earned the moniker that I give to everybody, which is Simmer. I dub thee Simmer. S-I-M-R, which stands for Yasmin. You have now been duly knighted as stupid, idiotic, moronic, and retarded. Simmer.
Okay, man in the pink shirt. Then I'm going to take another question, then we come back to the big one. Yes.
Yeah, I think bin Laden's been let off the hook by this, actually. I think if he was actually brought to trial and had to face real advocacy with a rigorous court and a furious crowd outside, I think I know which one I'd rather have. I'd rather have a bullet rather than be subjected to that.
Okay. Can I do the waterboarding?
Let's hear the waterboarding. I'd like to hear the view of Douglas.
I wanted to say on this. I mean, President Bush, in his memoirs, said that he approved of the waterboarding of 3 known terrorists at Guantanamo in the aftermath of 9/11. One of them being the mastermind of that, the man I mentioned earlier, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. Now, there's no doubt about it. This has damaged America's view in the world. I have no doubt about that. I don't think any of you do. The extent of those so-called enhanced interrogation techniques has been massively exaggerated. But if it did provide us information, then there is obviously a moral question that arises from that. I just wanted to address the following. Yasmin says about, we must show, as it were, our principles. We must show that we're better than them. We are better than Al-Qaeda. We don't have to show that, Yasmin.
No, you do.
Yasmin, just wait a second. But the point is what Yasmin is doing, and what many people are doing at the moment, is holding America and our allies to such a uniquely high standard that no society could ever live up to it. That even the worst enemy of a society has to be buried according to the customs that they would want. I can't raise it in me, Yasmin, to think that whether or not the customs around his burial were perfect in your eyes is the most important thing in the Bin Laden story.
Then you are as barbaric as them.
Well, we're not as barbaric
you
as
are
them.
as barbaric
Of
as
course
them.
we're not. What? Because we don't do the exact Islamic burial,
think
we're
you're
as
better,
barbaric.
no better.
It's as if we'd flown planes
You're
into
no
buildings.
better.
This is
You are
moral
no
relativism
better.
gone mad. It's worse than moral relativism. It's an inversion of morality.
You can't choose your morality. Bits. You can't choose bits of it.
Well, you do.
I don't.
You do,
I
and you
live by
decide, and you decide to apply moral norms to societies that you dislike, which you wouldn't apply to others.
I'm critical of all people
No,
who
you're
behave
not critical.
barbarically.
No,
Some
you're
worse,
We are
some
not
more
better.
than others. Yes,
No, it's
some
not
worse
true.
than others.
I'm sorry, I apologize to you that I have to take issue with you, but I mean, you made an extraordinary statement a moment ago. I noted it down. We are better than Al-Qaeda, we don't have to show it. No, Douglas.
No, hang on.
Allow it. No, hang on.
I said we show it all the time.
We are better...
No, you didn't.
Look, excuse me, just for a moment. We are better than Al-Qaeda, we don't have to show it. No, we are better than Al-Qaeda because we do show it by everything that we do.
That's exactly what he said. That's exactly what he said.
If I may get back to the point, let's enhanced interrogation techniques, let's call it what it is. It's torture. Now, is torture ever justified?
No.
Because
Wow. Was that a debate or was that a debate? Was that a discussion or was that a discussion? That, folks, was unbelievable. Everybody getting in their points. I happen to think that their points were absolutely freaking wrong, like Lordy over here with his, nose up in the air to everybody else. And then Jasmine, the liberal lady, who basically, wants to apply her virtue signaling, virtuoso performance onto everything. All these guys, they just virtue signal. And for this gentleman here to say, we don't have to, we show Al-Qaeda, we show ISIS, we show terrorists, we show fundamentalists, we show anybody out there that is not within the norm of human society. The Western democracies, the United States of America, Great Britain, France, Italy, Spain, all the Western democracies, we all show the world. We show the world every single second, every single minute, every single day, every single week, every single month, every single year, every single lifetime. Through millennia, we have shown the world who we are. Decent, compassionate, kind. But you screw with us, you take one of our own, and we will go to the gates of hell to find you and either bring justice one way or the other that will be imposed on people that decide that they can be the terrorist, evil entities that go around trying with death and destruction throughout the world. We're not going to take any of that crap. And Douglas is 1,000% right. 1,000% right. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you really love that kind of content, we love bringing it to you. Hit that subscription button. You all know what to do. Like, share, and follow us. I'll leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, you're right. And on this subject, I am GD 1,000,000,000 times right. And when you're left, you're wrong like these loonies were. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.